Yes, you are correct. I have just wasted your valuable time on this video. Welcome to YouTube. There's a whole bunch of shit, and I'm here to bother you with it. Also, I'm talking about Dragon Ball Super. Go figure. Let's get into the video. Hello everybody, Junk12 back again with another video. I'm back in full form in an actual visual video. I know it's been a good minute since I've been on camera, mostly due to the fact that I've been trying to waste my time doing other things. Whatever, it is what it is. Well, on May 2nd, 2017, we got the release date to Dragon Ball Super's Viz Media's English release. And it was a great day to be had, I would say. Right here I have a side-by-side comparison of the Dragon Ball Super manga, English and Japanese releases, first printings, and I'm here to talk about them and review them, compare them, talk about Dragon Ball Super as a whole, kind of settle the score of any kind of misconceptions that you may or may not have, give you my critique and final verdict, and pretty much end this video with a shit ton of fucking minutes of me rambling, because I know how much everyone loves those kind of things. But with that being said, let's get in depth with Dragon Ball Super, the manga. Now, to get it right out of the gate, comparing the English release, which is from Viz Media, in comparison to Jump Comics' Dragon Ball Super Japanese manga release, there isn't really anything different. What you'll get in the English version of the manga is everything you got from the Japanese version. The only real significant differences between both English and Japanese manga releases are aesthetics. The Japanese manga counterpart comes with a sleeve, comes with variant box art, or cover art rather, and obviously the biggest difference is the language barrier. But beyond that, everything you got from the Japanese version you will get with the English version. It has interviews by Akira Toriyama and Toyotarou, which was a huge plus. It also has a one-shot spoofing and interesting story piece containing the a spoofing explanation of the differences between Beerus and Champa, characters within the story of Dragon Ball Super, and of course a very interesting insight into how King Kai got his planet back. And other than that, everything is pretty much in line with the Japanese version. For me personally, I've never really owned the Japanese counterpart to any kind of manga series I collect. I am a collector, but for the most part I don't really feel like it's necessary to go out of my way to get the original release of something if I already have a great version as is with anything, whether it be music, movies, comic books, anything and everything I may or may not collect. I don't feel necessary to really go and get the original. However, when it came to Dragon Ball Super, the manga, I decided, why not just get it? I know a lot of people have varying feelings on what people should do and with their money, but if you have the money to spend and it's your money, then you can do whatever you want with it. And I decided to get the Japanese version, and I have to say I really enjoy how Jump Comics over in Japan released their manga. I will say, size-wise, in America, we like our things big. We like big things in America, but for the most part, the size difference doesn't bother me. I love the sleeve. I know with certain kind of production companies may give a manga a sleeve and stuff. Viz obviously has various versions of the Dragon Ball manga, whether it be the Viz Bigs or the Omnibuses, which is also titled the 3-in-1s. And of course the newly released full colors. But they don't really have any sleeves, which I think is a missed opportunity. I really enjoy the Japanese release of the manga of Dragon Ball Super, and I just love the art. The art is just amazing. Toyotarou, when it comes to the covers and the little pieces of art that he puts inside the books, are just very entertaining to look at, and it's just really cool for any kind of release that he puts out. And that's something that's heavily missed with the English version. But with that being said, it's essentially the same kind of book, just different aesthetics, and that's essentially it. You're not really missing anything with going with the English or the Japanese versions. With that being said, if we go in depth with both mangas, specifically the English version, the manga contains 9 chapters in its first volume. The first 4 chapters tackle the Battle of Gods arc, and of course the rest of the book focuses on the Champa Universe 6 tournament arc. And that's essentially what you'll be required to get in the first issue of Volume 1 of the manga, with, of course, the exclusive stuff like the Toyotarou and Toriyama interview and the one-shot and spoof pages. But beyond that, that's all the contents you'll get with the first volume of Dragon Ball Super, the manga. The first 4 chapters essentially is a very condensed version of Battle of Gods arc. If you're looking for a more extensive version of the arc that you didn't get with the movie, or if you didn't get with even the series, you're not going to get it with the manga. When it comes to the manga, Toyotarou as a writer and as an artist, when it comes to the book, really likes to condense a lot of things, and you can definitely tell that he was uninterested with tackling the movies again. But you still get a lot of the same awesome action that you got with both movie and TV series. You get the epicness of Vegeta fighting Beerus, you get the epicness of Goku fighting Beerus for the first time and the second time. It may not be as extravagant as both movies and TV series, but you still get Goku and Beerus fighting in the sky, fighting in the fucking city, in the water, in the Rocky Mountains, and in the stratosphere. So pretty much everything you get from the both movies and TV series, you will get with the manga series. And also, there's significant differences. If you've not been keeping up with the manga thus far, there are significant differences, like Super Saiyan God and the power scaling and how it's used from both movies and TV series. But that's pretty much it when it comes down to the Battle of Gods arc. I know a lot of questions have been heading towards, where's the Frieza arc? There's been a lot of questioning about that. Once again, if you haven't really been up to date with the Super manga or any kind of interpretation of the manga of Dragon Ball Super, there really is no Frieza arc. Back in the day when the Resurrection F movie was coming out, Toyotarou did do a 3-chapter one-shot comic of the Resurrection F saga. However, that's pretty much the extent of what you'll get with Frieza and Resurrection F, or any kind of version of Golden Frieza fighting Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta, is with that 3-chapter one-shot. And you don't really get the full story. It's kind of an incomplete one-shot as a companion piece to go with the movie. So it really has nothing to do with Super, considering it came out prior to the conception of Super. So it's not really necessary to get, but if you want some of it, then you have to go there. And you can get an English translated version for free online, but if you want to own a physical copy like most collectors like myself would like to do, the only thing you have to accept is it's only in Japanese. There's no real English translation to it in a physical copy form. But with that being said, that's the only real Frieza arc. There are 2 chapters, not really 2 chapters, there's actually only 2 pages that focus on the Frieza arc and reference it. Beyond that, there's only little hints and pieces of characters like Whis and Tights that reference the character of Frieza and the action that went down between Goku, Vegeta, and Golden Form Frieza. But beyond that, there is no Frieza arc in Dragon Ball Super the manga, so if you're expecting some of that, you're not going to get it in any kind of form of the manga. Unless there's like some kind of special deluxe edition that comes out in a couple years that Toyotarou does. But beyond that, I don't see it happening, and you're not going to get it with the first volume of the manga. Without completely exposing and spoiling every single panel and every single page that's in every individual chapter of Volume 1 of the manga, getting into more specifics, when it comes to the English translations, there really isn't any difference from the Japanese. There are, I would say that that I don't really think a lot of people have picked up on, is the censorship. I don't know what really happened, but if you go back and look at the earlier English translations to the Japanese version in comparison to the now Viz Media release, there has been some variant censorship. Not really with gore or blood, but there is a significant censorship in dialogue. If you go back and look at the entire first volume of this book, you'll notice that Goku says a lot of odd things. And that's mostly due to the fact that when you compare and contrast with the Japanese release, which is the original release, there is a lot of cursing that's involved with Goku's character. Goku says a lot of curse words that's very heavily missed in the first volume of the Viz release. There's not really any cursing. There's a lot of changes, which is interpreted to like battle sounds and just really bland dialogue pieces. I don't know why there was some censorship there, but beyond that, it's pretty much the only significant translations changes that you will get is pretty much with titles and names. Beyond censorship, that's the extent of it. Like King Kai is Kaio-sama or Lord of Lords of the North, and then you have, you know, characters and places that are kind of changed. You know, Vegito is Vegirat, Mr. Sane is Hercule. You know, Ox King's name is changed with the Japanese. Same thing goes for Master Roshi. Like, these are things that, if you're a hardcore fan of the series and you've always been just a big fan of the series, these are things you'll pick up on very quickly and understand that, oh, that's just like Viz's Japanese translations for these characters, but these are what the characters' real names are, and that's just something you have to accept, which is not a big issue with, in my personal opinion, but that's pretty much it. If there's anything else that kind of bugs me with the translations, is that during the section of the Battle of Gods arc where Beerus is basically making waste of the Z-Warriors, there's a specific part where there's a note by the editors, and they put in, if you want to learn more about Bulma's party, watch Battle of Gods the movie. Which I thought was really odd, considering if you're only a manga reader and you never seen Dragon Ball Super the anime and you read this book, it's kind of odd that Viz would put that in there, because the Battle of Gods movie is very different from this book and the anime series. I thought it was kind of odd that they didn't just put watch Dragon Ball Super the anime, because in the movie it's at Bulma's birthday is at Capsule Corp, not on a ship like it is in the anime. So I thought it was kind of weird that the editor's kind of note was to check out the movie. I mean, if you're a fan, check out everything, of course, but if you really want more context on what happens in that birthday, you watch the anime. So I thought that was kind of odd. Beyond that, that's really the only significant changes from both the Japanese to English release, or what Viz Media has put. Everything else I really enjoy. I thought it was really cool of Viz to include certain things like the little pop art that Toyotarou put in the Japanese book, which I thought was really cool and nice, like, you know, Goku punching Monaka, or Krillin thinking of Frieza's second form. Really cool stuff there. Also really nice to include the interview and translate it. That was something that's also in the Japanese release, something they didn't really need to do. But they did it, and it's a huge kudos. Also, another significant aesthetic change is on the cover. If you notice that the cover obviously is pretty much like the Japanese version, it's a throwback to the first volume of Dragon Ball, which is Goku on Shenron. On this, you have Goku as an adult with his Resurrection F-Gi, or his Whis-Gi, as it's later noticed to be in both anime and manga. But with this, you notice that there is a title change. Super is not on the right-hand corner, it's on the bottom of the Dragon Ball logo, which I thought was interesting. When I first saw it, I kind of had issue with it, but now that I've had time to deal with it, it's kind of settled with me, and I actually like both versions. I will say that I'm more used to the right-hand corner Super logo, but I do like the Viz Media release logo. I think it's really cool. Another thing that I noticed that really bugged me is the certain sections with Toyotarou's interviews and the way he talks. I noticed that, granted, Toyotarou is stepping in the shoes of Akira Toriyama, which is a heavy order. I mean, like, that's kind of like a certain director stepping in the shoes of Martin Scorsese and trying to make a movie that Martin Scorsese did. It's kind of it's a big, tall order. And I understand that from Toyotarou's perspective, but the only thing that really bugged me is the lack of ownership of this book. I mean, Toyotarou, I understand that he's kind of a newcomer, but he's been working with Dragon Ball and with Dragon Ball characters for a long while now, with both the various fan comics he did with Dragon Ball Super and with Dragon Ball Heroes and all the variant companion mangas that he did with the movies. So it's kind of odd that he would be this kind of shy about his own manga. I thought that was kind of odd. When you hear him talk, it almost sounds like a guy who's like really nerdy and like he finally got a girlfriend, but he doesn't know how to express his feelings, so he like makes her a mixtape and he's like, I made this for you. It shows how I really feel. I hope you like it. It's just so fucked. It's like, come on, guy. It's like, you're making Dragon Ball stuff. Step it the fuck up. As the great Paul would say, step it the fuck up. And Toyotarou does a fucking great job. He's an amazing artist. The artwork is impeccable. I've always enjoyed that. When it comes down to it, when it comes to comparing the anime to this manga, I've always been neck and neck with it. But the manga has always been a step ahead for me when it comes to quality. Granted, especially lately, the manga definitely has its faults. There's definitely specific issues with plot and pacing, or just in-depth detailing and lore, not to mention the multiple retconnings that happens with both the anime and manga. So they both have their faults. But they also have their strengths and their promises. And the manga has always had that since day one. and Toyotarou ever since now to where he is, ever since from the beginning of the Battle of Gods arc all the way to now where he's at with the Future Trunks arc or the Goku Black arc, continues to progress and get better. So I wish and I hope that as this series continues to go on, wherever that may be and wherever it may end, he continues to try and get some more ownership of the series, or at least some ownage with this title, because he does a great job with it. And I really feel like, and based off the vibes and tones I get from Toriyama's thoughts on it, he definitely is a good successor to Toriyama himself. So I really hope that that does happen, because this is a great manga, and the first volume is fucking phenomenal in my opinion. So with that being said, that's pretty much my overall thoughts on both manga, English and Japanese release. When you compare and contrast the two, the only real differences is specific name and title translations, not to mention censorship, and of course aesthetics with both books. But beyond that, you're getting pretty much the same kind of book at a great price, and it's also a great fucking read. So I essentially, at the end of the day, if I'm going to grade the English release, I would have to give it an A. I'd give it a solid A. It's a solid book and a solid read that I really appreciate Viz releasing and love that I own. I think it's an impeccable book. I think it's great. Other than the aesthetic issues that I don't know. I wish they created maybe they should make a hard copy. Make a hard copy and put a sleeve, god darn it. That's what I say. But fuck it. That's my opinion on the front. Once again, the volume only includes 9 chapters, which is the first 4 is Battle of Gods, there is no Resurrection F, and the rest is Universe 6. That's pretty much it. Volume 2 of Dragon Ball Super the manga will be released pretty soon. I think Viz probably has a release date either by the end of this year, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I pretty much believe that that's probably where Volume 2 will be released, somewhere around December. So around the holiday season is where we'll be looking forward to Volume 2, which I can't wait to check out. But with that being said, that's been my personal thoughts and review for Dragon Ball Super Volume 1 of the manga English release. I hope you enjoyed. This has been Jock12.